if you're online, just simply unmute yourself and go ahead and state your name and share a couple minutes of thoughts with council. See anybody?
Nope. And we do have Dean and Jean attending the meeting.
Yes, so we are full attendance with 2 members online. Any public comment? Okay, not hearing any. Changes or additions to the agenda. I know Carolyn wants to rearrange a couple items based on Christie's attendance.
Just wanted to take the Cannon Park one before healthcare changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cannabis, then Cannon Park, or cannabis, wood burners, Cannon Park.
And then Main Street East up above ahead of, probably easiest room 4 after 6, I guess.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, any other changes by staff or council? All right, hearing none. I don't want to say too much. We have a lot that could be a pretty lengthy discussion tonight. I don't really know how it's going to go, but I don't want to drag on. I just want to say thank you to our staff and our law enforcement and our fire department for making the elections so smooth. We really appreciate that. I've never seen the fire hall so busy with members. I mean, like way busier. So we appreciate you. And right after we recognized our emergency services personnel, we know we had a very difficult emergency to respond to on Friday, and just thinking about everybody, and then heard lots of sirens on Saturday as well. So we know you're always there on call for our community safety, and we appreciate you. I had the pleasure of attending the VFW American Legion first combined meeting, which was a ton of fun. And Brian was like the hit. He was like on fire. They thought he was super funny. So I'm sure we'll get invited back again. But I just love to see that group reconvening. I know how important that those memberships are, those individuals, and it's nice to see a packed room. It's just, I think it's been hard to get those kind of events back together. But I was thinking about my remarks before speaking, and we weren't asked to say anything in particular, but my daughter brought home an American Legion scholarship opportunity that asks the students to answer the question, is our democracy, Hammer was phrased, is our democracy living up to the ideas of the founding fathers? And she found that to be a little bit too big of a question to answer as a 9th grader. And I said that I also think it's a difficult question to answer, but to see those leadership, the many years of leadership in those 2 organizations and the commitment, and of course, all of their service record and the auxiliary service to the community, I thought, well, this part of our democracy is definitely working. This is key to our community. Then Catherine Gallenberger followed up and did a presentation at the Main Street Coffee Meetup and did a great job talking about what those organizations do. I learned a lot about activities I wasn't even aware of, and the amount of funds that they raise for our community. We all know that, but the total sum is like $160,000 a year. It changes year by year, but we really appreciate that. It was a very nice ramp up to Veterans Day, and a very excellent program yesterday where World War II vet Edwin Albrecht was presented with an award for 75 years of membership, and the post is going to pay his dues for the rest of his life. And he is turning 100 this year, so pretty special recognition. And that too was a packed house. Any other good news anybody wants to share? Otherwise, we'll go to committee reports.
Nothing of note, utilities.
Okay. Port Authority.
Port Authority, I think the biggest thing was Mary Fleetcheck, who's a member of our Port Authority, was named Historic Preservationist Volunteer of the Year in the state of Minnesota. She heads up our Main Street program, which is kind of a sister program for helping Main Street operations businesses downtown. So good for her.
Yeah. Very well deserved. A lot of people don't realize how long Mary's been volunteering. I think she's been doing this 35 years.
Yeah.
And always volunteering in that capacity and always being an advocate for a more organized Main Street approach. Even when Wabasha didn't feel that it had the commitment of funds to get a Main Street program actually an actual membership, she was always doing affiliate work and always trying to get that kind of mindset developed in our community. So it's very proud that she received that. And Tony. Parks and streets.
Good evening, everyone. Park board, we talked about Pet Butler. So it's a company that comes and picks up animal waste because some people aren't doing that now with the new dog park. Obviously, with our budget and everything, we're not going to spend $2,000 a year on that. So that was decided not to do that, but to try to educate people more, get some advertisement out there for people to pick up after their pets. Dog park, we talked about winter, should we say open, should we close? And we decided we don't want to be down there doing snow removal, and usually during the winter, people are gonna let their dog or whatever, you know, there's gonna be stuff everywhere come springtime, so we decided to close it, for the winter, as soon as the snow hits. Land sale, near Cannon Park, I think that'll be on, a nice discussion. Park board basically kind of said, let's sell an empty portion, leave Cannon Park alone and the triangle across the street. But they're kind of give it to city council to put on stipulations or whatever you want to do for the sale. Popcorn Park sign, we have a sign redone, we're gonna get that mounted down there probably either this fall or spring. And then we have terms expiring and there's new members for approval tonight for the park board. Street commission didn't, or we didn't have a meeting, so.
Can you share with our Veterans Park?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really nice. Someone-
So Wednesday, we had a small ceremony down there, kind of got a little bigger than what we were thinking. But we got a new statue donated, and it was,
Is it David Speedman?
Dennis.
Dennis Speedman.
Yeah.
So kind of replicates what, you know, what he looked like, and it was a World War II statue. So it's
Korea.
Korean, and it was donated by the family, of,
Stephen.
yeah, Stevens, and then I think it was like Cindy Spicoli
Oh, okay.
was one of the family members too, and they have family there. Did we, set it up, put it in place, did a ceremony, turned out really good. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool, good group of people.
Yeah.
And we have a
Oh, yes.
little news item here on the website, if you wanna share that with friends, but it turned out really nice.
The Popcorn Park sign, is that gonna be installed right on the pavement? Is that how we?
So we're gonna put it out closer to the intersection, and, you know, it's probably about
Mhm.
head height, over me. But we're gonna put it back by the tree.
Okay.
Maybe help with snow removal and kind of just the way things are starting to look, you know, with benches and stuff, so, yeah.
Super, thank you. And planning.
So we discussed the cannabis order, which is our 10-1 and the prohibiting outdoor solid wood burners. And then we also approved a Wabasha County Fairground IUP for use of their arena throughout the year.
Anything from ambulance that you want us to be updated on, Ryan?
So the ambulance commission did meet last month, I really didn't have anything, action to take. So I just emailed out, update. But for October, we had 87 calls, which last month in October, we only had 44. We're at 770 for the year, through the end of October, we're up 192 calls over where we were last year. We had more 911 calls in October at 60, than we had total calls in 2023 in October, which was only 44. In total, we're up 22, 911 calls through the end of October over what we had all of last year. And then we had the inverter replaced in 971. I just got a letter today, we did not get picked for the Taylor Farms grant, that we applied for. Our revenue so far through the end of October is, almost $3,000 over what we projected for the whole year. November 18th, we're meeting with, Brian to get kind of the preliminary feasibility study, and then if we have any changes or additions, to it, and then in December, they're gonna try to, present it to the council meeting. At the last meeting, we did talk about a couple other, sites that we hadn't, discussed before, so they're gonna look into those, and, that was really the only change that we made. From what they presented to us, and then, that morning of the 18th, I'm going to be meeting with the state and the other ambulance services in the county, and the dispatch center to clear up some overlapping PSA issues that we have, with amongst all the different services, so, that's kind of what I have.
Thank you. All right, and then Caroline's report.
Okay, well, we're doing some more celebrating, so I'm gonna celebrate, let's see. Tyler, could you please stand up? Congratulations on your 5 years as our finance director. Just not only helping us with the basic budgeting and financing, but today was just an example of how we've been able to take on multi-million-dollar projects. It's astounding, and he's tracking all of it, and we're going over numbers with Brian, and we've got more multi-million-dollar projects coming. And I think he can say he's grown immensely in the last 5 years, taking on this role, and he's very active in the community, serving with the Wabasha Kellogg Foundation Chamber Rotary, and was also instrumental in bringing the new dog park and supporting the fundraising efforts for the new athletic field. I just love the passion he brings about what's best for Wabasha, what will make Wabasha a better place. We all love working with you. He keeps me up to date on sports, so like I just asked him what happened over the weekend. He's got a great sense of humor. Tyler is also somebody that just is gonna be like, hey, how was your day? How was your weekend? How was your mom? He's just a great coworker and a wonderful person. Happy 5 years of service, Tyler. Okay, Wendy.
Today, we celebrate the 5 year anniversary of Jessica Bruce with the city of Wabasha as deputy city clerk. Jessica came on board with us, as Tyler did as well, during a transition period 5 years ago that was high stress due to new staff and a lot of learning. From day one, I knew that she was going to do great things. Jessica's ability to be self-directed, innovative, and all her years of past work services in municipal government has provided a successful career and a future for her. Jessica's most shining moment recently was the ability to effortlessly manage the 2024 election, showcasing her experience in ensuring a seamless process for all involved. Hearing from more than a handful of public participants how smoothly the elections ran is truly Jessica's victory to accept. Her pioneering innovations and commitment to team spirit have been an invaluable asset to our team and are visible daily in our office. Jessica manages the utility billing, staffs the utility commission and city council, provides backup to the ambulance when they are short drivers, organizes and volunteers for city and non-city events, and is always the first person to chip in to help others. Working in a small office with many tasks, Jessica willingly accepts the challenge to wear multiple hats daily to ensure city functions and the public are well taken care of. Jessica, on behalf of the city of Wabasha and myself, I would like to extend a heartfelt congratulations on your 5 year work anniversary as our dedicated deputy city clerk. Your dedication and hard work do not go unnoticed. We are truly grateful for all you do.
He also serves as the official ambassador to the state. Oh, thank you. It's exciting. I remember that exciting stressful time, but to have the opportunity to be involved in hiring you guys is it's been great from the very beginning. So thank you. And that's a lot of work in 5 years. Wendy's right. There's a lot to learn. And whilst neither of you came without experience, it's still,
And every day we're still learning together.
all the time. Yeah.
Let's not forget the record retention.
Right.
Got that.
So, on our next item is, new park board members. Is this supposed to be, did you want this as consent? Okay, so we have a new park board members, Linda Odden and Bill Kay. The October 1 regular city council meeting minutes, the 2023 project pay app number 13, November warrants, gambling permit application, and the property tax assessments for the street project. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
We have a second from John. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thanks, guys.
Mm.
And now, We have no public hearing. Under general business, we have the cannabis ordinance first read. Did Christie want to give us any
Yep, Chrissy, you wanna kind of summarize what's in front of us?
context?
Sure, can you guys hear me?
Yes, hi Christie.
Hi. Yeah, it's, the first read, the cannabis ordinance is largely gonna be run by Wabasha County. But the county had determined that they really didn't wanna add the zoning ordinances to their ordinance. The ordinance will be, we can read it full out in the second read. But attached here is just a really brief summary. We held the public hearing last week because timing is kind of the essence. We need to have the first read this evening, the second read and approval in December so that we can get it in ordinance prior to the moratorium ending. But the key components really are here that we're going to put it in our use chart. So we're going to allow cannabis businesses only in the TDC zone. And the county will only allow 2 cannabis businesses in the entire county. They will regulate it. We will provide them comments, thoughts, and recommendations if any of these cannabis businesses land in Wabasha. Low potency hemp products, you can see there from that use chart, are already allowed mostly in our gas stations and liquor stores. So those are permitted uses and they're already going. The rest is just, specific definitions and then stating in our ordinance that the county's actually going to run it. Tim, did you have any other questions or comments from our public hearing?
No, I don't, I mean, we didn't really have much of a public comment. I mean, it's really a Wabasha County ordinance. I'm just grateful that hopefully they'll allow us to offer our conditions and stuff like that. So, and at least allow us to review it and so on. So I think that's the best we can kind of hope for right now, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comment?
I guess I just would comment that there's a lot of restrictions in terms of the number of feet it can be from a park or things like that, childcare schools, so,
Back on.
it's gonna limit where that could be. And is that due to the state or is that due to the county? State, okay.
All right, so we just have to read it, right? Okay, and we need to actually make it, is there an action on reading it? No, we do it now. Okay, so the same thing for the outdoor solid wood burners. This one seems pretty straightforward. Anything we should know, Tim or Christie?
Yeah, just for me, outdoor wood burning, wood burners, I see Brian's odd face going, what on earth is that? Maybe we're just highlighting that. It's literally those out, it's a heating unit outside for the home. And they were outlawed about 10 years ago, almost largely throughout the entire state. But that was when Molly and I had kind of crossed paths, and for some reason this ordinance just didn't get approved.
I see.
Okay, because
I was on planning when we did this.
Yeah, right.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and wanted to outlaw just by smoke and outdoor issues on tight lots. It just can be a real nuisance. So we're outlawing it in all the zones except the big rural zones where folks can still use these kind of things. But it's an air pollution and a fire hazard and makes for angry neighbors. So we've opted to do this prohibiting of outdoor solid wood burners for the rest of the town.
Okay. That makes sense. Any questions? All right, now we're gonna move our budget discussion down. So now back to the Cannon Park land split.
Okay, I'm gonna take this one on. So you already approved the Cannon Park land, I'm not sure if we actually took action exactly, but, we determined that we were gonna look into sale of parcel A. What we had neglected to do at this time, because parcel A is considered part of Cannon Park, was to take it to the Parks Board. So at the Parks Board, they adopted a recommendation selling, this Cannon Park parcel for housing. But at the same time also discussed moving the Cannon to the triangular parcel. And also recommended that the city consider not selling parcel A just for housing, but consider selling it just to anyone that wants to buy it. For example, perhaps a neighbor or something like that. So this body and the port had priorly approved that it only be sold for housing. I was also asked if that's legal to add conditions on the sale of city lots. And Mike Flaherty confirmed that it absolutely is, and then I found several examples in other communities where they're doing so. So this would be for housing construction only, and I think they'd only have 12 months to build a home there. I've also been asked, is this large enough for a duplex? It probably isn't. It's zoned R2, but we're just gonna say for housing, we're not gonna say it has to be single family or anything like that. So the first question is if the council wishes to change their mind based on that Parks Board recommendation. And then what was map 2 about? I don't know. Okay. Oh yeah, this is just Christy had put this together for me and was just kind of showing what's buildable there. I did take a public comment from someone who was unable to attend. They're a senior and they and their spouse have been looking for a long time for a duplex in the community and are now searching outside of Wabasha because they can't find housing. So they just wanted to comment that the more the city can do to make land available for housing for seniors especially, and to consider like a community space. This definitely wouldn't fit senior housing in a community space.
Okay, so we need a motion whether to clear, I mean, so Parks has given us feedback, they don't care if there's restrictions on it for housing, but my understanding was the intent of council's will to sell the parcel is for housing. Is that correct?
So I'm taking that back to this to confirm.
Yeah. So
Tony, do you want to add anything to that? Because he was there for the discussion. I will say that Port has paid for the survey bills because it's a port project. So if it's not for housing, actually have to find money in the general fund because then Port wouldn't be carrying about taking on the project. So.
I guess the other thing that I would add is that one of the neighbors.
We have no audio on this thing.
We could probably get it done, we'd have to pour a concrete pad and, maybe some sidewalk, but, everybody we talked to, they're like, so we didn't, we didn't really invest any time into it.
For like emotional reasons or?
Well, the people in that area, that's kind of theirs, I haven't heard, it would be nice to consolidate military equipment, I think, like the Vets Park or Schmidt Park where they have their actual ceremony, but then you're trying to kind of rob that part of the neighborhood with something that they've had for a long time. And
that was sort of my feeling too. What, we talked about this, it was pretty casual a discussion about this in Port Authority because I don't think it was even clear necessarily that these were, that the parcel A was Cannon Park. I think we were looking at that one as being clearly identified as a potential for housing. Learning that Cannon Park was part of it was just sort of like secondary. And it's the first time I looked at Cannon Park after that conversation, I thought, well, this is an established park. That would be, a loss for the neighborhood. Not to say that the Cannon lives there forever, because I think there's been good reasons
It's been moved before.
It's been moved before, sure.
That island, it has no function whatsoever and, you know, it seems like
Trees.
Actually,
If
that
you
was a
could-
great idea.
if you couldn't move it there, I mean, it's not leaving the neighborhood and
Mhm.
it frees up another piece of property for a house, so.
I mean, if, you know, if you wanted us to invest more time into it and check that out, what the cost would be, I mean, we certainly can.
Yeah.
It just seems like that there wasn't a very good positive response out of it, so
It almost need its own day on the agenda. That's, you know, they're really separate things. The one is so obviously an opportunity and the other one is so like, well, we should think this through a little bit.
Yeah, we can always do it later, so.
Exactly.
That's, yeah, I mean, we're not, by making this decision, we're not negatively
No.
impacting that,
No.
so.
the water and sewer, though, on that,
Oh, yeah, we've got-
parcel A. So there's water, it's out in the street, we'd have to dig out in the street, yeah, there's not concrete curb and gutter there, but, we'd have to. You know, if we wanna make it worthwhile selling it, I think we should invest that, and then the sewer though. We would have to bore, out into Broadway. Or Hiawatha Drive, and. Yeah, that's gonna cost a little bit, I think Pat was working on a price, from a local boring company.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have a grinder pump, because, well, obviously when you bore, you know, it's not gravity line, you have to put a pump. In there, so I mean, there's cost of that too, I mean, we wouldn't have to put the pump in, we would probably bore the line. And leave the water shut off and the sewer shut off, in the boulevard. You know, maybe it would bring 40,000-50,000 for a buildable lot, and.
So yeah, that is something that's my next step, is we've learned that the across the street neighbor has the same problem. Tore down a house, it's now vacant without sewer access, so there's potential for a cost share there, so that's our next step. And then Brian and Mom and Pat have talked, and there's some grants that are coming available to help cities get public infrastructure in place to build housing, so I'm gonna look into that. So that was something we just learned of late, is that there's not an easy sewer water hookup like we thought, so. But if we can invest in some infrastructure, potentially there's the opportunity to not just get housing built here, but across the street as well.
You know. Does anyone want to make a motion about parcel A at this time?
I'll make that motion.
And that is
What's the
for,
motion? Well,
Just,
To sell.
it's listed, it's a
move
sell
it back to
parcel A.
Port in and market it for sale.
But with.
For housing?
The restrictions are not.
Oh, yeah, we want restrictions.
It's listed in here without restriction, we
Okay.
need restriction.
With restrictions and then. But,
Housing.
yeah,
Second,
Thank you, Dean. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Was it? Bill had asked the question, was there a time limit still of 12 months on there, or wasn't that changed?
12 months.
That's what John's motion included, yeah, 12 months.
Cause I remember the park board talked about that, and they felt that with the way the economy is and how things go, that might not be enough time, but
Yeah.
I thought I'd throw it out there.
Oh, yeah.
24 reinterested.
sorry, I forgot that.
I did too.
I rely on my memory. Bill, your memory is superior to ours, apparently.
That was part of the discussion, was allowing more than 12 months. You know, not significantly longer, but something more than 12 months.
We can reassess it in 12
Yeah.
months.
Right, I think the understanding was we want it to be, we don't want to say 36 months and have nothing happen. But yeah, that can be handled, obviously,
Yeah.
if developers run into trouble. Yeah, we had that conversation at some level, but probably at watch too. Thank you. Okay, and now the Main Street East property. So this is down on the intersection of East Main Street and Washington, across the street from the gray condominiums.
Yep. So to get this, the lot as the city currently owns it is an L shape and is not buildable. That's kind of where the 53 number is here. And Christy sent me some more visuals if this is confusing. And so what we're proposing to do is vacate this area to make the lot bigger. And I think there was also some discussion with vacating it even further to the street, but recording an easement for our, utility lines. So what we're proposing here is to list this lot for sale and also authorize staff to do all the necessary street vacations or potentially even alley vacations to make this as a large of a lot as possible. And after a discussion today, we believe it would be best to handle the street vacations first. Because if that doesn't get approved or whatever, it's not really a great lot to build on. So I'm gonna see. If anyone wants more visuals on that, but what's a challenge here is it's in the Shoreland Overlay District. So that only allows for 25% impervious, surface, and it's also in the floodplain, so they would have to bring in some fill. It is pretty minimal fill, but still requires some fill. Christy or Wendy, is there anything you wanted to add? I think even with the street vacation, there's some concern that this is a really deep lot and it may be challenging to build there. I think some of the discussion at Housing Commission or Port and Housing was just, well, we don't know until we kind of list it and then we can keep evaluating. Christy, do you want to add anything?
No, just to say that the lot as it originally sits is actually less, it's about 19 feet and change wide. So it's quite literally unbuildable. So we would just recommend that we take the effort to vacate part of Main Street and the alley before putting it up for sale, thereby giving it a little bit more depth to be a more reasonable lot.
But even then, I think your feeling is it will be challenging. It would have to be pretty small.
It'll still be a challenging lot, but as it currently sits, it's absolutely just a remnant parcel.
Okay, any questions for Christy? We have a motion to approve listing and marking this Main Street East parcel. Oh, go ahead, Dean. I think I heard Dean.
Yeah, it says a list of sale for 23,000, but we don't have like a 12-month thing on there like we just did with lot 80.
Right, I was gonna mention that as well, Dean, that we should be explicit that it's also for housing.
I'll make a motion to sell it with 12 months.
Okay.
Or 18 months.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Anybody think this one in particular needs more time, or we just keep them the same and address it?
I'm okay with all that.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it's something that the city really should own anyway, so.
Right, so
If we can sell it to somebody, yeah, more power to them.
however we were.
For housing development. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christy.
We do not need you. And then Brian, thank you. If you need to depart, we understand.
Thank you all.
All right, so now we have shuffled I've lost it, our budget discussion on our healthcare premium for employees. We'll go back to that one.
Okay. So healthcare premiums, basically, with the short of it is that in the end, our premium costs went up 18%. With no changes to our premiums for employees. The budget kind of sits at where we set it at for preliminary. Then we had discussed that if it was going up 18%, could there be a cost share with employees? So I was able to look at the rates and the 18% and determined that if there was a cost share with employees, then the rates would go up for families by $55 a month, employees plus dependents about $25 a month, and a single plan by $5, and that would put the levy at 9%. So 9.4 down to 9, so not a huge change. I was also asked by the council to research other communities and how they handle changes into the premiums as they change. And then what I uploaded didn't actually show up on the agenda. Which is disappointing because this also took a while.
Sure it did.
And it's hard to read just on that screen. But basically, you can find a range of what I did. I just looked at family premiums. That's the most expensive plan we offer and the best benefits. So for example, Plainview has union insurance and I had to put in $1, but they pay $0 for their health insurance for the city of Plainview. Then right here, this bar 589.62 is City of Rochester, and just these are for Mayo plans. So currently, city employees for Mayo are at $610 a month for a family plan. Zumbrota does 100% for employees and 55% for dependents. So that changes a little because they also have a plan just like ours. Which is so approximately a family would pay $793.40. We're charging our employees a flat rate, but on the back end, we're being charged different rates. So Zumbrota and St. Charles and Cannon Falls are charging their employees different rates based on this formula that will pay 100% of employees and 50% of dependents. So they're in the higher range at $886 and $881. When we looked at this 2 years ago, we went with the flat rate system because we were coming off of PEEP. If we charged families based on what we were getting charged, we would have had some families see their rates triple and other employees see their rate go down. So we just thought it was fair at the time to just do a flat rate. Chatfield is still on PEEP, the program we were essentially kicked out of. They are paying $572.25. Lake City is on PEEP. They do a 70-30 formula. So their family plans, they cover 70% of those. And then the employee covers, they cover 70%. I don't know what the 30 is about. Something, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, 70% and the employee pays 30. They're at $667.91. Pine Island is at $560.43. Wabasha County is probably the next lowest to Plainview. A family for a Mayo plan only pays about $205 a month. And the school district, they had different rates for what union you are in, but approximately $450.72 for a family plan. What I'm recommending right now is if we want to look into a scenario which employees' premium rates would double or triple or just be an extreme change. We're kind of at the tail end of this, so I'm recommending we could subcommittee it if council desires major changes in how we do our premiums. And would recommend that we do a modest increase or no increase at this point, just kind of late in the game. Wendy is going to have a meeting for employees to enroll in healthcare next week. So what I kind of learned is not really having a percentage policy adopted would actually be helpful in our budgeting process, but feedback from employees. I think employees initially, when we went for PEEP, saw their rates more than double. That was pretty challenging. And so I've gotten feedback just to think about continuing to stay competitive with the area. Is in Plainview and Wabasha County being examples. And I just looked at, even with the modest increase for a non-union employee, when we increase everyone's premium, what would be a 5% wage increase is a 3.7% wage increase for anyone taking the family plan. And that's just with the modest increase. Yes.
I have a question. I should have asked you this guys before, or asked you this before. Can you equate the 18% into a dollar amount on the budget? You or Tyler? Do you know like what exactly that amounts to in just pure dollars over the entire year?
It's on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Is it like 5 something a month? 5,000 more?
5,000 a month. Okay. So.
Tyler, does that seem right?
Yeah, it sounds close. I can get it for you. So 60,000. Did I do the math right there?
Yeah, you did. Good job.
I'm terrible at small math, so. Okay, that helps. Thank you.
What's the actual percent of the premium
that the city employees pay for their policy. Because
For families?
nationally, it's about the employees pay 21% of the total premium for health insurance.
Yeah, for families, the city pays about 80% of the costs. The city is paying 80%.
Okay, so the employee is paying 20 then,
Yeah.
which is in line with the national average that I was looking at.
Yeah, and it's actually low for state and local government. Now, state government's gonna inflate those numbers. I think they probably enjoy higher than local government, but still, I was looking at the Department of Labor's or September 2024 figures. And in the category of state and local government, the employer's share of a single coverage premium is 90% and the employee share 10%. So that's easy math. And then for a family plan for state and local government as a sort of a sector, it's 78% by the employer, 22 by the employee, so. So it's really high in the employee only coverage. So we're not out of range, doesn't look like we're at all out of range in the region.
Yes, so
And the Midwest looks higher than some other
So-
geographic areas.
yeah, with the modest increase, we stay at about that 80% range. With no increase, we're covering about 83% of the plan on average for a family. And it ends up being about 84% for singles.
Thanks, I'm sure this was a ton of work.
I'm gonna save it, because I know I'm gonna get asked about it.
Yeah.
So, yes. I think what we learned is we're close.
Mhm.
Um,
You know, those Chatfield numbers are close to ours, I wonder
they're on.
what's happened to Pete, you know, Pete
Mhm.
maybe isn't what it used to be in terms of the ability to cost,
Mhm.
and if they kicked a bunch of people out,
Yeah,
then that would explain that.
I had thought, do we go back to exploring Peak, but employees didn't like it because you had to pick one hospital, and if you try to go somewhere else, you'd have to use a weird system that no one knew how to use. So I think employees don't wanna go back to Peak. Can you nod or shake your head? Ryan, were you ever on Peak or just the new plan? Okay,
Peak was a nightmare for
Yeah.
employees. For the preferred network, you had to pick your network. If you didn't get getting through a referral process was never right. The provider never knew how to provide the right referral. And then Peak literally priced us out. And because of our usage, they priced us out. So
mhm. So yeah, just looking for a motion on option A or option B, so we can finalize the budget. And then some discussion, do you guys wanna open the box, or do we wanna just keep it as is? You wanna form a subcommittee next year or not?
This is always gonna be a big budget driver. I mean, we
Always.
almost need to have almost a standing committee every
I
year to look at.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, because last year when we looked at this, holy, it was confusing. But now that we got the flexibility in plans, I think that's good, right? I mean, we have the options, different options. Where PEPA's kind of was a screwed up system, so I mean, I'm with Jeff, I truly would like to cut their cost down a little bit, but I think we should also form a group to look at it ongoing. Almost like a personnel committee type of thing. Cause it's only gonna get worse.
And it's confusing.
It's very.
It is.
You have to like really get into it again
Yeah,
every year,
right.
and I don't like really getting into it every year, right before the employees are making their selections and right before we
Yeah,
have to make.
I mean, this is something we hopefully could do in June, but I mean, I know it's tough, and it's hard to compare cities to cities, I mean, it's just not, it's black and white, so. It's just, yeah.
Would anybody like to make a motion for either A, B, or a variation by the one?
So if we do B. It affects the levy,
0.4%.
I'd make a motion to accept option B. And then form a committee for next year, or ongoing committee, however you want to do it.
I'll second that.
I did get feedback from employees that they'd like employees to be able to participate. Are we okay with that?
And last year we did.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we had for the committee? We had two council and then we had two or, yeah, I'm all for that.
That's way easier.
They should have input in it, so.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and the recommendation to include, employees in the working group. All right, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and I forget, what was your estimated percentage? When you had the original budget, were you thinking it was gonna be in the teens, or was it close?
No, we only estimated 10%
Okay.
and we came back with 18%. But then as we did a survey of employees taking our insurance, we realized that we had counted someone for insurance that didn't take it. So that's why we kind of got lucky. If we had exactly budgeted everyone, we probably would have been over our preliminary because we only had set it for 10%. So I'll probably have us just do 18% next year. But what changed is they changed the benefits this year and threw that some more costs on the insurance. What was it? Insulin prices. I'm looking at Jessica because she's familiar with that. Insulin prices were crazy high, so they passed the regulations to lower it, but they're throwing that on the cost of the
Yeah,
insurance.
you can't get away with it.
So, yeah, I mean.
Some administrator thought that was gonna be a good idea.
I know that for people that pay for insulin, it's very expensive, but yeah, it's not like it's taken by the pharmaceutical company
No,
or something.
everybody pays, yeah.
So,
Well, it's frustrating. Yeah, and I think ours came in at 20 or 21 initially, and no, that's a lot. Our employees get 50% covered by state law, and then that's a big hit for an individual. Their cost goes up, whatever the plan cost goes up.
I guess a huge driver going forward on these costs too is the Ozempic and stuff. That's like a drug that costs $11,000 a year per person. So that's been a big driver going forward for these insurance rate increases.
All right, so we'll meet in 2025 on that same issue. Okay, and do we need to talk about park board member requirements? This came up initially.
budget.
Oh, yeah. Budget discussion, thank you. Courtney's sitting right here. He's like, can we talk about the chamber? All right, so in our 2025, our preliminary levy included the $15,000 chamber contribution. We've had some conversations about where that goes, what the overall chamber budget looks like, some of their revenue sources. Do you have anything else you want to share with us? Or Courtney will ask you to share anything you'd like to. And then there's this line here, I assume this was just a copy and pasted from something else, or is that a chamber insurance?
No, I was talking about our health insurance,
Okay,
so
great.
that impacted our budget. So we made some assumptions here.
So that's
we
what I
gave
just asked,
you-
there it is.
Yeah, we gave you guys a couple scenarios. This first scenario was with no change. And then with the change, I'm sorry, it's 9.08 versus 9.36. But we've already proved that. So the insurance is set, so we're looking at the 9.08 increase. And then I did just get feedback. It sounds like majority of council members, but not all, feel that the $15,000 chamber membership contribution should continue that previous level of work continues, the 3 festivals, the marketing, the business events. I know some council members believe that the chamber could replace the visitor's guide with digital marketing efforts. But I think we want to continue to support the festivals, and particularly Septoberfest was brought up. And kind of maybe see our contribution go towards maybe sponsoring the festivals instead of paying for the paper marketing.
We had a really good conversation with Courtney. If you want to join us anytime, Courtney, kind of describing the tension around Septoberfest. And Septoberfest is not a revenue generating festival, but that's part of its appeal, and that's intentional on the part of the chamber. It doesn't have no costs, but they still have, what'd you say, $6,000 to $8,000 in costs, plus a lot of leadership required, which Courtney's worked on very recently to get true leadership back involved. Not just volunteers, but actually people willing to be in leadership roles, communicate with the director, make sure that things are, happening over really the course of those 2 weekends, but the weeks in between them as well. So, we just learned that, I guess, kind of in a general conversation, but I said, I think the visitor's guide is very valuable. I've never understood it to be really something that needs to be supported, because it's obviously a revenue generating publication and it's ad driven. But I still support want to support the chamber, and I think, the fact that we have a wonderful festival that's enjoyed by our families, especially families with small children or grandparents, that doesn't have a lot of ticketing and isn't revenue generating, is really a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful public, quality of our public life here as residents, and obviously drives visitorship to all of our businesses that are related to that. So, I thought, oh, that's interesting. We've never been asked to support the festival itself, since it doesn't make money for the chamber. It's really, and maybe at some point it did or was intended to, but I mean, you guys know your numbers, and that was new information to me, so.
Yep. Here to answer questions.
You gotta, we sent everyone your budget.
Mhm.
Any questions on the chamber?
Okay. Thanks, Courtney.
Yes.
And I heard you had a good turnout for.
Ready to go.
Awesome, that's super. Okay,
I'll make motion to, for the $15,000 contribution.
keep the $15,000 to the chamber in the budget.
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you, Dean. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion?
So we do the 15,000 this year, what are we looking at doing? I mean, we gotta be fair to Courtney, what's the thoughts for next year, year after? I mean, are we?
Yeah.
Wasn't.
Yeah, we gave it to you.
I forgot, yeah, that's right.
Sorry, that's not working.
It's come up many times, right?
Yeah, so next year, it'll be the Port Authority's decision, and they voted and approved that they will take it on in 2026.
Okay. Never mind.
Great, good to be reminded. I didn't have an answer. That answer didn't immediately pop in my mind either, so. All right, all those in favor to including the $15,000 contribution to the chamber of 2025, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Thanks. All right, we've got no more budget items, right?
Oh, I just wanted, is there anything else that anyone wants to change with the budget? Let me know. And then secondly, I was thinking of, talking about the year prior and the accomplishments of the departments in January, and just taking some highlights for the year in the final budget presentation. Just because I was looking at how other cities do it, and I think I had like 39 slides and everyone else had 12. So I feel like I kind of lose people at the end. It will still have plenty of slides to explain what's changed and the major things that you guys have previewed, but that would be the plan. And then I'd like to preview what that property tax insert looks like come in January for everybody. So that if anyone, just to kind of look back at the year, it was a big year for all the departments, and it's kind of nice to let them share some of their accomplishments, so.
Sounds good. All right.
And then the other thing is, we are looking at taking on, a big, the last part of the street project in our long-term capital planning. And we will also the results of the city hall and things, so the city hall, the ambulance, so I think we should do another long-term capital planning workshop with Mike Bubani, have him update those worksheets, project tax rates out and things, and we'll I'd like to do that ahead of the next budget cycle as well, so.
Some nice dark January afternoon.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay, so, yeah, of course, Dean, go ahead.
yeah, on that, Caroline, on that, presentation that you just said, you said you were dropping it down to 12?
No, I think it'll still be high, don't worry, but I just last year I took every single department and I thought I'd break off that part of the presentation in January and look back at 2024. Is that okay, Dee, or you want it all? Okay,
The more information from the public we have, the better. So,
Yeah, it's a wonderful presentation. I agree, Dean, but it takes the pressure off of Caroline to do all of that wonderful presenting work at the same time that they're actually wrapping up the budget work, because I think we're all paying attention. And we don't need it to inform our budget discussion so much as it is a sort of the capstone achievements of the last year's budget, really. Yeah. But it's great. Okay. All right, so we just have 2 new park board members. Thank you, Bill, for stepping up. You'll be a great addition. And we have, through that process of trying to find people, wondered whether the criteria we have in place for membership is sufficient or whether it needs to be expanded a little bit. Tony can tell you there's probably been, I don't know how long have you gone sometimes without a meeting because of lack of quorum.
I think we missed 5 or 6 this year.
And yeah, and sometimes you'd go for a stretch when you had people who are snowbirds. So yeah, we have a significant population in Wabasha that goes south, and so they, as good of servants as they might want to be, their absence makes it difficult to have the full quorum. And so when Michael Anderson was down working and living at Broken Paddle, he joined the commission and now would have to leave if we keep our current, I guess the definition of an eligible member is the Parks Board for the city is hereby created and composed of 5 members who shall be qualified residents of the city. And we're wondering, should it also say or own a business in the city?
Did you discuss between just owning property and owning a business? Is there a reason it should be a business and not just a property owner?
it could be
Just say
on a property, that's fine. I got that. I had initially put a vested interest and was given a suggested to make it a little more narrower than that to owning a business, but it could be owned property. I was just thinking if you owned a storage facility in Wabasha, I don't know, if like a business, you're trying to get people through the door versus I guess I went through the scenario, I own a vacant lot or I own a storage facility or something.
I think
I own a rental property,
right.
Okay,
I think that's okay.
It also seems like people that have like a property like that, they're not gonna be interested, they won't be interested in this, but I mean, I think just owning property.
Unless they're just interested in service, in which case that's
We
great.
can always deny an appointment if
Right.
somebody's not gonna be here for
Right.
meetings
and stuff.
I think one of the discussions that came up is like, if it's just is a resident, do they have to own a residence? Is that, what if somebody owns a home here, but they don't live here? Well, if they don't live here, they probably wouldn't be able to be a good participant. They don't have to convince us that they're gonna be here not to serve, so. All right,
I'll move with that.
so a motion to approve, Parks Board for the city hereby creating, we compose of 5 members who shall be qualified residents or own property in the city. Okay, do a second?
and then this will appear 2 more times on an agenda for you guys, and then we noted that we're not gonna then kick Michael off, although the timing, it probably could approve till January, but allow him to renew if he so desires, and maybe he's changed his mind. We did get an application that could replace him, but like I said, he's been a great member, and if someone would like to renew and have a history, we think that could be a good thing.
So we have a motion from Tim and a second from Dean. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. You'll be great. You are already helping out with all kinds of things. So we appreciate people coming in with general interest, but we also really appreciate people coming in who are actively participating already. So that goes for Linda as well. Okay, and now, appointment to have a representative provide input on design for the future apartment building. I know this came up. My reason for bringing this up with Caroline, that I thought maybe this would be something that would help the public feel trust that it's not just a developer coming to town to build what they want. The developer is coming to town to build something that's suitable for the community. All the developers mentioned this on our developer tours, that they are happy to be engaged with communities. They do it in a variety of ways. In Zumbrota, it's not like they had a small group, or Zumbrota, getting confused. Yeah, Zumbrota, they had a small committee that I know gave the feedback that they were looking to reference the red covered bridge that's right near that apartment in sort of the siding selection. That is probably going to be the limitation of this input, is probably material selection, I would guess, because the building's gonna be masked, there's kind of one way to mask it, so. Scott had been approached, as a planning commission member, and he said, yeah, I mean, just so we're not thinking we're gonna get like design this thing, this is gonna be designed by the architect. And we will give the feedback that we think represents the community's best interest. And he was okay with that. The other Mary understood that to be the case as well. So the representatives that have already been appointed are Mary Fleechek from the Port Authority, Scott from the Planning Commission, and we would look for somebody interested from council.
And what we know is it's gonna be a 4-story building with a flat roof. We know where the windows are gonna be. It might, and there's gonna be patios, but it'd probably be providing, like Emily said, just other input on the type of materials and just getting a look at the final plans before they move forward.
I'd like to disqualify, consider it.
I'd recommend Dean.
I wonder if Dean would be interested too.
I tell you, I have absolutely no sense of anything for construction. So, I mean, I can try.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're gonna be asked to provide much feedback, except if you think, if, like, for instance, for accessibility purposes, if you thought there was a better way that something could be done. I know they were very good about that, and there's umbrella building, but we saw 3 residents using wheelchairs in our short trip there, and it was just, the building really looked like it was very, very accessible and made me think, you're sort of like the efficient ambassador downtown.
Well, Dean, you're born and raised here. You have the history of downtown a little bit.
Yeah,
It's kind of what I was thinking.
All right, I'll do it.
awesome, thank you. I don't think Scott and Mary will leave you with much work. All right, that would be great, thank you. And now to canvass the 2024 general election. We need a motion approving the resolution determining City of Wabasha councilperson terms and results for Ward 1, 2, and 3. Congratulations to everybody elected. Thank you, Tim. We have a second.
Second.
All right, I heard John first. Thank you also, Jean. So with the person is second, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And I meant to congratulate Riley publicly too, who was elected to the school board, so we appreciate him. And now we have the November donations. Okay, quite a few this month. So to the library, a $400 anonymous donation, $100 from Ron Manzow. In memory of Harold Schumacher, there were a number, $50 from Dennis and Jane Hager, $25 from Friends of the Library, $30 from John and Jackie Price, another $30 from John and Sue Mundy, $70 from Amy, Beth, Liesel, Rebecca, Mary O'Brien, and Ed Hellmuller. And to the police department, $200 from Heritage Laundromat. To the Wabasha Dog Park from Renee Perchetta and Michael Johnston, $100. To the ambulance, $1,000 anonymous donation. And for the electrical vehicle charger that Mary Funk is trying to work on, she received some grants as well. She's received 2 donations, $50 from Walton Jean Freeze and $25 from Dean Mertis. Do we have a? Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Any other announcements? Okay. Yes, Wendy.
The signature page.
I see that, okay. Wendy has a signature page, don't leave, all of us, right?
And I will give Dean and Jeff.
Okay, so Jean and Dean, we have a signature page that all of us will sign from as a member of the canvassing board, and Wendy will get that to you.
Yeah.
We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Thank you, Jean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good night. Thanks for the nice reception. That's lovely.
Annette did a fantastic job.
Always.
And thank you to Bolton and Nate for sponsoring the food for us.
Oh, how lovely. Very nice.
Right, I know.
So.